I feel like everyone talks about practice, but they don't talk about the importance of taking breaks. Hear me out. I know this doesn't make that much sense, but it will later. As artists, it can become very hard to give yourself the chance to recover or take a break or try to rest for a little while when there is so much to learn and so much to do. This is especially true with the onslaught of social media, which keeps promoting the idea of posting constantly. And how can you post constantly if you're busy taking a break? With that being said, if you are someone who refuses to take breaks, you are actively doing more damage to yourself, your brain, and your body than if you were to take a break here and then. Taking a break is different from taking a gap. That's the first thing to keep in mind. When we take a break, it's temporary. It's to give ourselves some relief or rest, and it's not something that means you won't go back to artwork or art making for months on end. There are other factors in play when you consider people stopping creating for a long period of time, but that's not exactly a break. When we consider a break, the ideal is that you set aside a period of time where you decide not to create anything on purpose. And naturally, this seems pretty counterintuitive. I mean, how are you supposed to improve if you're not practicing? But a large part of practice is learning how to internalize and manage what it is you have learned already. When we consider learning any topic, there's a theory side and a practical side. A lot of the times we learn theory before we actually get to practicing. However, with the drawing, it's always a two-way street. You're heading down one avenue and then you come back down the other. You start with theory or you end with theory. And either way, you have to go back and forth in order to improve your skill level. And the thing about learning theory is that it's very strenuous on our brains. Any new thing you learn is pushing the elasticity of the neurons within our mind, and that is very difficult. When you are studying and learning any topic, it is more difficult in that initial stage than when you are ready and prepared to take a test. Once you're at the testing point, you should be theoretically set to take that test. You should be ready and you should be knowledgeable about the subject matter you're looking at. The same happens with creating. When you are learning how to create anything, you need to first internalize what it is you are doing. Let's say, for example, I'm learning about light, depth, and shadow. In order to actually figure out how light and shadow works, I need to be observing it in real time rather than just imagining it. And part of that observation is stressful on your brain. You are looking at things in a new way. You are forcing your brain to break down shapes, objects, and forms in order to see them differently. Regardless of whether you feel the stress heavily or not at all, you are still forcing your brain to do something new, and that is stressful for your brain. And it's easy to think that it doesn't matter that you are overworking yourself mentally because it's not really showing up physically. Physically, you might be creating better and better art rapidly and quickly, but mentally, you're probably close to burning out. It's so easy to forget that burnout is always a couple steps away from us at all times. We live in a time where everything is very overbearing, and we live in a time where we always have to be doing something in order to feel okay, because productivity has been boasted upon every other facet of human living. While I personally believe that every artist's goal at some level should be personal improvement, there is a very thin line between working on improvement and overdoing it and hurting yourself. Drawing every day is something that I try to do, but it's not like I'm drawing constantly for hours. First of all, I don't have the time for that. The majority of us do not have the time for that. With that being said, I try to fit in at least 5 minutes of drawing daily because that helps me with my mental health, creativity, and productivity overall. It also helps me feel like I'm aligning with my personal goals of trying to do art in my life every day. But I can't commit to drawing 1 hour every single day in the hopes that I will magically improve overnight. Beyond that, I know that drawing when I don't feel up to it or when I'm exhausted is not going to help me. In fact, it'll probably just make me feel bad because I'm not at my highest skill level because I'm tired. And don't worry, I will be getting back to the theory aspect of all of this in just a moment. These things actually intersect. When we take breaks, when we sit back, relax, and watch the show, so to speak, we're still learning. When you make artwork, you are slowly training your brain to see the world differently, which means everywhere you go and everything you see looks different than it did before you started creating. You will automatically start breaking down shapes, color, light, form, etc., when you look at anything, which means that you are constantly learning. Which brings us back to theory. When we are constantly learning, we are constantly applying the theory we have learned. Beyond that, when you are learning theory, and by theory, I mean any type of learning you're doing from an external source. This could be classes, this could be books, this could be YouTube videos, anything you are learning from another source. You are committing to learning something about your craft every day. It's not like you're not using your brain or practicing in some way, it's just a different form of work. And since you are still using your brain, even if you're not physically doing the act of drawing, you're kind of on a break, but you're not exactly on a break because you are still learning. And this happens every single day. So sometimes when you skip drawing, or some weeks when you skip drawing, you are still learning things simply by existing and viewing the world. And I know all of you get on your phone and watch your little reels and TikToks and YouTube videos, rest in peace TikTok, that explain a lot of new concepts to you. So every day you are still learning new theoretical concepts to apply to your work, which once again leads us back to the idea of taking a complete full break. Sometimes that means removing yourself from drawing-related and artistic-related things entirely. And since, like I've established, we are always learning things from the world, it's not like you're actually taking a gap, or it's not like you're losing any time or skill. You are actively taking the time to take care of your brain, your mental health, and come back refreshed after a short period of rest. To put it in very, very simple terms, you're taking a vacation. A lot of people will say in order to improve, you have to practice every single day, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that. In order to improve, you have to be able to learn how to study things and learn how to spot your mistakes and what you can do better. And that's an entirely different skill than forcing yourself to draw every single day. And that advice, to draw every single day, can be harmful. It can damage your wrists, it can damage your brain, it can damage you entirely to the point where you give up drawing. You have to take breaks, otherwise a break will come around, smack you on the head, and knock you out. The fun thing about art making is we have a lot of time in our life to get into it and to continue it and to learn it. Even if you take a very long gap away from it, you can still decide to get back into it and start creating again. But when you're very serious about artwork, it can become very difficult to step away from it because your goals are always shifting. However, one good way to organize yourself and your mind and your goals is to step away. It is so vitally important to take breaks, otherwise you will end up damaging yourself. And nothing is worth damaging yourself, I promise. The artwork will still be waiting on your desk when you get back from taking your vacation. It's not going to grow legs and walk away. It is tempting to look at drawing every day as a good solution to fix all of your artistic problems. And it even has the potential to do a lot of good for your artwork, but only in short bursts. If you're going to practice every day, make sure you are taking time off of drawing. Maybe a couple days, maybe a week or two, but taking some time away so you can refresh your mind. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Please let me know what you think, and I will hopefully see you guys next week.